Hey everyone, this is Friedel Hakureja Raven, and I'm here with my recap and review of The Alienist, Season number 2, Angel of Darkness, Episode number 5, which is titled Belly of the Beast. And this episode opened with a shot of Libby preparing some tea for herself. And in the previous episode, she just ended up killing Marie. And before she can start drinking her tea, there's a knock on the door, and we find out that the old landlord lady is there, and she is like, I'm here to look for Marie. Is she okay? Where is she? And Libby is like, yeah, Marie isn't home. She's gone to take care of her relatives who's sick. And then the landlady hears the voice of a crying child, and the landlady is like, oh, you have a child in there? And Libby is like, yeah, I do. Anyway, this isn't a good time, so she ends up shutting the door on the landlady's face. And we find out that yes, Libby does have a child with her, and that's the Linares baby. And she is feeding the child, she's nurturing the child. The child ends up biting her, and that clearly makes Libby unhappy because she is like, my child doesn't bite, my child doesn't cry. So yeah, you can see that Libby has gotten fed up of taking care of the Linares baby. And then we have this shot where we see that she ended up positioning Marie's dead body on the chair, and she was having tea with Marie. So yeah, Libby's crazy, and I do have to say that the actress that is playing Libby, she is doing a very impressive job. Then the scene changes to Sara talking to Bitsy. Sara apologizes to Bitsy because she never wanted to put Bitsy in harm's way, and Bitsy is like, it's okay. And she's like, Libby wasn't really a threat to me until she saw me there that night, and all of that stuff. And Sarah's like, you know what, Bitsy, you need to rest, and I'll go and try to identify who Libby is. We have to find her. And Bitsy is like, you know what, there is a picture in the hospital that you can use. And we end up seeing Lucius stealing the picture, and when he is done stealing the picture of Libby from the hospital, from the laying-in hospital, we see that Captain Doyle, Burns, and Marco are having a talk because they too need to figure out who Libby is and where she's hiding. And this is where we get a scene between Captain Burns and Marco, where Burns is like, you know what, Marco, I appreciate the work that you're doing here for the women whom the society doesn't care for. However, that's the only thing you're doing here, right? You aren't doing anything else. And we as viewers know that Marco has been making the women that he's helping unable to have any more children. So it was very interesting to see that Burns wouldn't be the kind of person who's going to be a fan of what Marco does, especially in the maternity research and surgery wing. So yeah, maybe Burns will be the one who takes down Marco. Who knows? Lucius ended up hearing Dr. Marco talking about how Mary didn't come to the hospital this morning, and he ended up telling Sara, and Sara's like, you know what, we need to go and check on Marie. And they go to her apartment. The door's already open, like it's unlocked. They go inside, and they find Marie's dead body. And of course, Sara asks Chrysler, John, and Marcus to come as well, and they're examining the body, and they're figuring out what happened to Marie, and they are able to tell that Marie was first strangled and then she was killed. And now I was ended up being a fan of this scene because we saw Sara in full detective mode. She was trying to connect the dots, and it was as if she was recreating what Libby went through in the entire apartment, how she walked around the apartment, how she sat down for tea. And I really like that scene. And it's Sara who ended up saying that they need to check the eyelids, and on Marie's eyelids we see that Libby has drawn that memento mori design. Marcus comes in, and Marcus is like, yeah, I found the poison. So this is where they figure out that Libby has been ingesting the poison herself, and then she has been transferring the poison to the child by breastfeeding them. Then we have this creepy shot of Libby placing the child in her caged crib. They're trying to figure out what Libby will do next, and this is where Laszlo is like, you know what, all of the fake images that Libby was showing at the hospital and to other people, that those have shattered, and now Libby is close to unraveling, so they have a better chance of catching her because she is likely to slip up. Then we see that Libby has indeed gone crazier than before. She took the Leonardo's child to the park, and the child keeps on crying, and she's ignoring the child. Colleen is brought to the police station, and we see her being forced to go through all of the identity books. And this is where she ends up noticing Libby's face in one of the pictures. However, her alias is different, and yeah, the police officers have a lead because they found out that the woman that Colleen identified, she has connections to the gang. Bitsy is at Sarah's office, and she wants to help, and Sarah's like, Bitsy, you need to go home. So she asks Mary to walk Bitsy home, and they're still trying to figure out what Libby is up to. And this is where Sarah is like, you know what? Maybe Libby just likes children that are at a certain age, and because the Linares baby is growing up, Libby doesn't want it anymore, so they have to work quite fast. And John is like, you know what? I think I can run a likeness of Libby in the newspaper. And Sarah ends up handing him the picture that Lucius stole from the hospital. And you can clearly see that these two have tension between them, especially because of all of the harsh things they said to each other in the previous episode. Marcus comes in and he tells Laszlo, Sarah, John, and Lucius about the police identifying Sarah and how she's connected to the gang, the Duster gang. We have another shot of Libby trying to take care of the child, and then again, yeah, they need to save the child as soon as possible because she is close to killing her. Then we see Libby walking down the street, and she notices the newspaper. She picks it up, and there's Libby's face in the newspaper. And the fun thing is that she's actually standing outside Sarah's detective agency, so you just know that she's going to do something to Sarah. John and Sarah end up going to Cyrus's pub, and they're like, do you recognize this woman? And Cyrus is like, yeah, I do. She's Gugu Knox's girlfriend. And yes, that's the connection that Libby has with Gugu Knox's gang. And because I was waiting for them to return, and Cyrus is like, I can't help you, and I would rather that you don't involve yourself in this. So Sarah and John come back to Sarah's office, and this is where they notice that someone has been here. One of Sarah's guns that belonged to her father is missing, and then they notice that Libby was here, and she ended up drawing the same eyes on the blackboard, so she's clearly threatening Sarah. John decides to take Sarah to his house, and he is like, Sarah, you're in danger. I want you to live here until Libby has been captured. And of course, John wants to say sorry to Sarah, but they don't have the time to talk about their feelings yet. We see Chrysler trying to figure out why Libby is acting the way she is. There's a knock on the door, and of course Laszlo is busy, but Pauline comes in, and he's learned this magic trick using a rope. And I'm like, a child using rope for magic tricks? That's dangerous. Laszlo decided to call on Professor Karen, and they both talk about the investigation, and he's like, there are some parts of the women's psyche that still confuse me, so I want your help. And Karen is like, you know what, let's collaborate. Sarah's sitting in John's house, and she's going through the pictures of Marie's dead body, and you just know, because Sarah, being the type of character she is, she just can't sit around and do nothing, so she decides to go and track down Gugu Knox on her own. She goes to Cyrus's pub, and Cyrus is like, Sarah, I can't help you. Please stay away from danger. And this is where Joanna comes in, and Joanna's like, you know what, Sarah? I know how to track down Gugu Knox, so follow me. So they end up following one of Gugu Knox's men. His name's Fat Jack. We have seen him before. And both of them follow him down the dark alleyways. And then they see Libby with Gugu Knox. And Gugu Knox has a very weird romantic sexual relationship with Libby, where he basically says that he's Libby's baby, and he ends up sucking on Libby's breasts for some reason, which, yeah, it's weird. Sarah's still following Libby, and she tells Joanna to go and talk to Chrysler. She wants him down here and also get John. And Joanna's like, you know what, I'll go right now. However, please be careful. John's busy sharing dinner with Hurst, Violet, and their friends, and Hurst's very disappointed because he's like, John, as a journalist, your job is to report news, not be part of it. So what are you doing? Anyway, they're all talking, and Joanna comes in, and of course, because of racism, everyone is like, why is this black girl here? But John is like, you know what, Violet, it's important, I need to go. So he tells Joanna to contact Laszlo and also contact the Isaacson twins because they need firepower. Then he goes in and he tells Violet that he needs to go, and Violet is like, "Why are you always running around?" And John is like, "Violet, how can you say that? What if it was our children who got kidnapped? Wouldn't you like such a kidnapper to be apprehended?" And Violet, she is disappointed, but she's like, "Okay, John, you can go." Before John leaves, Hurst comes in, and Hurst is like, "You better be going out for a scoop and not to hang out with Sarah Howard." Sarah ended up following Libby to this old building, and Libby goes in, and Sarah's like, "You know what? I need to go in after her." And while that's happening, we get a scene between Burns and Hurst is like, "I can't understand why John always runs around Sarah like a sad little lost puppy. What's that about?" And Burns is like, "You know what? Miss Sarah Howard is a very scandalous woman, so why don't you run an article in your newspaper about what kind of weird, unorthodox woman she is and try to ruin her reputation?" And Hurst is like, "You know what? That's a good idea." And coming back to Sarah, she notices a cellar door. So she decides to go into the building using the cellar door. And she's walking around these creepy corridors and rooms, and she has her gun with her at least. And John reaches the place, and John decides to go through the cellar as well. Now, this is a scene that made me laugh because Laszlo enters the premises, and before he's able to get out of the carriage, Fat Jack comes in and he threatens Laszlo with a knife because, of course, Fat Jack wants to steal from Laszlo. And Laszlo tries to buy some time, and he uses his psychological skills on Fat Jack, where they talk about why such a skinny person is named Fat Jack, and Fat Jack is like, "Yeah, I never thought about it that way." However, this gives enough time for Marcus to come in, and he is able to save Laszlo. Before Sarah is able to capture Libby, Libby comes out from behind her with a gun, and she's like, "Sarah, I need you to lose the gun, and I just knew that you couldn't leave me alone." And she tells Sarah to get on the ground. However, Sarah, because being a smart character that she is, she uses the ash, and she uses ash and throws it in Libby's eyes, and that gives Sarah enough time to grab her gun. Libby tries to escape, and she does escape. However, Sarah is able to hurt her with a bullet because I think the bullet grazed Libby's neck. Yeah, Libby has run away, and John comes in to find Sarah, and he's glad that she's okay. And Sarah ends up finding the Linares baby tucked away in a drawer, and thank goodness the baby is still alive. So John and Sarah with the baby come out of the building, and while they're in the carriage to go to the Linares house, Laszlo is very impressed by what Sarah was able to do, and Sarah is like, "Everyone helped," but Laszlo is like, "Yeah, we helped, but you were the leader of this case. You're the one who took this case up, so congratulations." And yeah, the Linares baby is back with her family, so happy endings all around. And it's morning time, and Sarah and John are back at John's house, and this is where these two talk about their feelings for each other. They apologize for the harsh words they said to each other last night or the night before. Yeah, 2 nights ago. And now this was a very weird scene because John is making the bed for Sarah so that she can sleep, and while Sarah is coming towards the room, she's thinking about all the sexual stuff she wants to do with John. And yeah, these two end up hooking up, and I'm like, "John, you're engaged. Why are you cheating on Violet? You shouldn't do that." And Sarah should know better, but yeah, this is where the episode ended. I will be doing a written review of this for the Geekiary. The link to that will be down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of the episode, and yeah, I'll be back with my recap and review of episode number 6 very soon.